Go.
Pain continues.
that's
What are we
that's
on? What are we on now? Five, episode
yeah,
five.
episode 5, and yeah, it's draining us to the point we can't even do the intro anymore. It's
Dude, this fucking show, man. There is nothing here. Like whether you're a die-hard Star Wars fan or not, there is nothing here to invest in. I think I hit the nail on the head. I don't remember which episode it was, but I kind of predicted that they were going to do this sort of format of like two slow episodes of quote unquote setup, and then the third episode was going to have like the big bombastic action thing. That seems to be what we're doing.
yeah, you're the pattern looks like it's gonna happen, and I don't know. I I do not like that because
No, because
could
because this episode nothing happened.
could we even like could we even call this episode like a development episode where we learn more about our characters? Because what did we really learn? We learned that someone's like that kid person is writing a manifesto. That's about all that I.
Everything we learned about any of the characters wasn't particularly anything meaningful. And even if it was, like we learned that the reason that one of the guys is fighting is because his brother died. And it's like, okay, but it's very like surface level shit. It's not something that we go into any sort of meaningful depth or conversation about whatsoever. They could have literally done it the second the guy came on screen, like an episode ago, and they could have been like, "Oh yeah, that's Skeen. He's here because his brother died," and we would know exactly the same amount as we do now.
Feel like we'd learn more actually because at least it would be functional exposition. It'd be like, yeah, that's his brother. Why are you here? Oh, because of the freedom of information stuff. The Empire doesn't seem to be really all about that. And they just kind of keep arguing amongst each other. Oh, the episode starts with like Andor having his shit searched. So it's like, does this group trust him or not? Because they don't really have a choice on if they could use him or not.
Well, and we kind of talked about that during the episode, but it doesn't even make a lot of sense because basically he wakes up and looks down and sees all his shit is gone. And he kind of rushes out of the tent, goes over and he sees that Skeen has all of his stuff just kind of sitting there. And Skeen is immediately like, "Don't worry, it's all there. Vel asked me to look through your shit. I think she's having second thoughts about you." And it's like, "Okay, pause for a second. Um Vel is the one that as far as everyone is concerned is in charge, and she was the one that vouched for Cassian to be there in the first place. And
Correct.
she was the one that wanted to maintain the illusion that bringing Cassian on board was her idea from the very beginning. So why then would she plant seeds of doubt amongst her own people? That's dumb as fuck.
And then she disappears. I almost wondered if they're just gonna pull the rug out from under us, and it turns out she's a big old traitor.
No, her and the other chick seem to be having like their own secret part of the mission that we don't know about yet. That's why
Mm-hmm.
she kept disappearing, is because her and I think her name is Cinta. Um, they have their own part of the mission that they're doing, but for security's sake or whatever, it's need to know kind of deal. They're
Right.
operating independently of the main team, which fine, whatever. But again, this is the kind of thing where usually the audience has some indication of what their role is so that we understand, overall what the plan is. Because in most heist movies, we need to understand what the plan is so that when the plan eventually goes awry, we can understand why and what the stakes are. We don't know what the fucking plan is, so we're not going to know when the plan's not going according to plan unless they literally have somebody say, "Guys, things aren't going according to plan," which I do not fucking put it past you. This show might do.
Oh, they will do it.
So I don't know, but there's just a lot of tension between him and the other people in this episode, like the other people of the heist. Um, and there's multiple times where like it's that throwaway dialogue that always gets him into trouble, right? So the kid that's writing the book or manifesto or whatever you want to call it is talking to Skeen and he's like, "Oh, you don't trust Cassian?" And he's like, "I barely even trust you." It's like, why would that be the case? You guys have been here for months.
Yeah, they just wanted to seem like they wanted to be all witty when that's just why.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's really dumb. The whole reason why Cassian throws the dynamic off is because these people probably would have already built up trust during the months that they've been training.
Yeah, the
So,
months preparing for this heist.
yeah, it's like, but you don't trust this guy. It's like, oh, okay. No, we just needed to create artificial drama. So, everybody just seems to have this drama that doesn't really go anywhere. Like, we see Lieutenant Gorn kind of vaguely wrestling with some of the other Imperial guys, and it's just like, okay, we get it. Like he's not happy with them, but it's not. All of those scenes feel rather wasted because he's not doing anything. Nothing is fucking happening.
Not to mention, it seems like he's a pretty high-ranking officer. When it's like if he really wanted to do he almost single-handedly could guarantee this heist's success because everybody seems to not really be taking their jobs seriously on this base. He could be encouraging their laziness, basically making them
Well, he
super
can't do
complacent.
that because that would be out of character for an imperial officer. But he does give them a little bit of slack. Like they ask him
Right,
like, "Oh, can we reschedule it to the day after tomorrow so that the men can attend this lunar event?" It's like, sure, whatever. So he's not super duper strict, but
right. I almost wonder, like, would it be out of, like, we know, like, if the Empire was really around, yeah, it would be very out of character for an Imperial officer. But from what the show's been presenting us, they seem to be very vain and focused more on presentation than actually being an effective, either an effective leader or just doing an effective job.
yeah, it's I had a thought and then it just fucking left me. This show keeps destroying my
I was
brain.
going to say it's draining you of your brain power.
Little bit, yeah. There are just so many scenes where nothing fucking happens.
Copman's the biggest example because we
Yeah,
see
let's
him just
shit on
hanging
him
out.
some more.
Yeah, the scenes where he's just interacting with his mother, it is just waste our fucking time because we basically show that the mom is just kind of a bitch because all like you never knew what you were doing in the first place. I had to call in a favor with your uncle, uh, and I don't know what their deal is with humiliating this guy as much as possible. Making him every time he's on screen and talking with his mother, he's always eating breakfast cereal. It's like the show is trying to
Yeah.
show how emasculated he's been.
Oh, I remember what I was going to bring up. So I don't even think the show realizes it's doing it, but in the effort of making sure that their cast is like diverse and inclusive, they have sort of either intentionally or unintentionally made it like a team of brown people are all terrorists against the white people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney was doing that on purpose because
I just don't know if we can give them that much credit though. You know what I mean? Because like they've bungled everything else to this point. It's like they're trying to sit here and say, "Oh, these are the good guys. You should root for them." But it's like, you basically made them all a bunch of racist stereotypes. Because the way that the show actually comes out, the Empire is like on the right side here. Like the biggest fuck up they showed in this episode of the Empire was like, oh, they were using this little ruin for target practice, and one of the fucking TIE fighters does like a flyby.
Yeah, he
That's
fucking.
it.
I was going to say, if you want to if you want to show classic Empire, they were all just kind of dicks, or at the very least, you paid them very little mind because they were just gonna do the evil thing. Right now, they're not even doing that. You could show them doing the target practice and being very disrespectful to the classical architecture. You have to show it. You can't just show him just grabbing the target and then that's it, because it shows them berating. Like he shows the show shows the lieutenant guy berating his subordinates for letting that happen. So it's further showing the discipline that the Empire should be doing when your troops do something monumentally stupid like that. It's like almost like they're asking for open rebellion if you keep like if they truly wanted to show the Empire be dicks, there would be no festival happening.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like we've both watched enough Star Wars. We both remember the OT, so we both remember like what classic Empire looks like. And they're just not doing that.
Well, no, because this is before Classic Empire, right? This is what will eventually become Classic Empire,
Supposedly
I
nothing
guess.
should be different. Palpatine is in office. The Empire rules the galaxy with a somewhat iron fist.
No, Vader's not around yet.
What do you mean, I would love to hear if somebody would actually say that to my face. Like, oh, Vader's not around. It's like he was there since the beginning.
No, no, he's still medically recuperating from the lava and shit.
he's just been he's just been hanging out in his little castle on Mustafar, just
Yeah,
in his little bathtub of Bacta.
yeah, it's hanging out like Boba Fett.
Oh no.
Um, it's weird. There's like a few different plots kind of taking place in this episode, and none of them are interesting, and none of them are well done. Like it's if you were bored by the first two episodes, you're gonna be just as bored with episodes 4 and 5. Like that is literally their format. It's like 1 and 2 were slow and boring. 3 was action packed but an absolute clusterfuck. 4 and 5 have been slow and boring. 6 is going to be action packed but a giant clusterfuck. Rinse and repeat until the end of the season.
Yeah,
Like
but don't you
that's my
understand?
prediction.
Don't you understand, Ninja? They're gonna say a swear word though.
I don't care. I just want to be fucking entertained. I know that's asking a lot, but goddamn, like give me something to fucking engage with because this is shit. All of the characters are just massive assholes or very unlikable. Again, this is something we have said this entire show, but again, it's showcased here. Like just nobody is likable. Nobody has any character other than just dour sourpuss asshole. Like that is just everybody.
Oh yeah,
And
like one of the points of that was like Mon Mothma just being a complete bitch to her husband. And yeah, the husband hasn't been the nicest person in the world, but why are they married to each other then?
well, that's not terribly uncommon in like political storylines where it's like, oh, she married him probably for like, I don't know, position or clout or something like that, but they clearly don't actually like one another.
Then I almost
But I
want to
just
like they almost should say that then.
yeah, I mean they could at this point. It's not like the dialogue between them has been great anyway.
Like I know I'm arguing for basically the clunkiest dialogue on the planet, but better than what we're fucking getting.
Yeah, unironically.
Cause so we meet Mon Mothma's kid for a second, and of course she's kind of a A
No,
brat.
not kind of. She's a fucking cunt.
Yeah. I was trying.
Like
I was
she
trying
treats her
to.
mom like an absolute bitch.
Yeah, I was trying to be a little bit nicer because child and all, but yeah, she's kind of a bitch. and and it's like I'm wondering if like do so just both daughter and husband just unironically support the empire full heartedly.
I
Is that
guess
just
we
the
don't
angle they're
even know.
going?
That's the thing. Like they really don't even know. We're just going off of like what we can assume. We can like that one lady kept saying we can intuit.
I think
We
it's a
can
good.
intuit based on what we see, but there is so much left ambiguous.
Remember how you brought this up in the previous episode? How with Lucian talking to people, it almost didn't feel like human beings talking to each other. That might be why a lot of the Mon Mothma scenes have been bothering me, because it doesn't feel like people who have been married for X amount of years are like they would actually talk to each other.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is it's a lot of that sort of like subtextual like political sniping back and forth where it's like they're trying to say things to intentionally like hurt one another, which fine, whatever, but you normally see this with like political rivals,
Yeah, not.
not with like husband and wife. But even then, like I mean, you could see it for show like in House of Cards, they do that really well. They don't here, and you can tell that the person that's trying to write it doesn't have the fucking chops to pull it off. And it's like I get it. It's not easy to write like that kind of banter back and forth, but it's like you have to tell us something about their relationship in addition to just moving the plot forward, which they don't really do either in this case.
Yeah, for some reason, we're in the middle of this heist prep stuff. We cut to Mon Mothma and her husband just in the car, and the only thing it shows is that, oh, I didn't think you would be interested in that kind of stuff. Oh, what kind of stuff? Being charitable. It's just only there for a snipe. And then the husband just goes, "Oh, driver, get us home faster, please." Like, what was
Rex
the
basically doesn't want to be in the car with her, which is fine, I guess, but you know.
wouldn't normally, if these two were married, also like specifically only for political reasons, wouldn't they try to spend as little time with each other as possible outside of public appearances? Like they'd almost take two separate cars.
Unless they're doing it strictly to keep up appearances.
Right.
But yeah, all of the Mon Mothma scenes are basically wasted. We get a scene with the Imperial ISB guy on Ferrix. So like we finally get to see the Empire's response to what happened on that planet for like a microsecond, and we don't see him interact with anybody actually from the planet. So we don't
Yeah.
know what their take on it is or how they feel about it. We just see the Empire basically fixing shit up and repairing the damage from the battle.
Just telling them to get the shit cleaned up. And what's really weird about it is because you know who we should, at the very least from an audience standpoint, you know who we should probably care about in this circumstance? Bix.
Bix or Marva, either one of them would have been a good start. We get neither.
Yep.
So that was interesting to see how the Empire reacted. Moving right the fuck along because that's how much time the show gives it.
Yeah,
We also
these
get one scene with the I don't even know what to call her, the other ISB chick.
I've forgotten her name already as well. More
Did they
Easter
say her name?
eggs.
I genuinely don't even remember her
Yes, her
name. But
name was
anyway,
said in our introduction episode.
don't care. Uh, she's basically running around being like, "I'm the bestest ISB person ever," and we just kind of see more of like people telling her she's amazing when she's not really doing anything. Like nothing has happened. She hasn't done anything differently than what she was told to do last time. Like, and yet she's basically just told that, oh, you're the bestest ever. And it's like, this is the chick who's the actress, not the character, came on to one of those interviews about the show and was like, oh, she was the one that was spouting about how it's, you know, it's an anti-Trump thing and it's,
Oh, this
you
is
know,
that lady. Okay.
this is that lady. Yeah, she's the ISB officer,
I did
and
not know that.
yeah, and she's talking about how, men in the workplace and stuff, and how it's like, and it's misogynistic, and it's like, you're not even showing that. You're not even showing like all the men being assholes to her. The only guy we see her interacting with is nothing but a fucking kiss ass
In this
who
episode, at
basically tells
least.
her how awesome she is.
Yeah, and what's weird is if this is supposed to be like a men in the workplace thing, uh, main head ISB guy not only scrutinizes her work, but let's not forget, he also praises. Like, this is not just one-sided, oh, you shouldn't be here type dialogue. He gave her legitimate praise for such and such. I don't even remember the reason. But the point being is that it was there. And
No, I agree. It's fucking weird. Um and it just, again, it feels like a big waste of time because nothing happens with her character. Nothing happens with, anything of importance. It's just we just get to see her being amazing for a few seconds and it's like, okay, cut back to something else that's going on.
that or she's just being used as a reference machine. Because
I guess.
in the few seconds she was on screen, there was mention of Hosnian Prime again, Jakku of all things, and it's like,
Yeah, you remember that planet where they got all the kyber crystals from?
that was Jeddah.
Jetta, Jakku, potato, whatever.
To be fair,
Same
it's
difference.
kind of the same thing when Disney won't stop going to like this, like
I
they
mean,
won't stop going to fucking Disney, not Disney. They won't stop going to desert planets that all look the
for all we
fucking
know, it was
same.
literally the same set. So,
Yeah,
because they're both just desert planets. So,
'cause that was even a fucking joke with Rise of Skywalker when they're looking for the for Palpatine's bullshit. They're like, oh, let's go to this desert planet. It's like, you guys really just love going to these desert planets. Why not go to like another forest planet or something?
no. Everything in the Star Wars universe is a desert planet.
Desert
So,
or an ice planet or
salt planet.
oh yeah, or Pacific Northwest, because that's almost the environment they're trying to go for with the planet that Andor's on, hanging out in the
Mhm.
woods or in some
Yeah,
mountainy areas.
it's just not Endor. It's like, oh, okay. So, was there any particular bit you liked about this episode? Was there anything that you wanted to talk about?
There kind of was, because I wasn't sure about how I felt about it when it happened. It was the one of the conversations that happens in the little rebel camp, and it was when they were all in the dark eating. I'm gonna quickly pull the scene back up to see if it jogs my memory, because what was it? Because I thought it was interesting that we were at the very least somewhat getting kind of character motivations for a good chunk of the cast. Where was it? Not the whole manifesto thing. For a split second, I kind of liked the conversation, like after the whole stealing shit thing. I kind of enjoyed what they were talking about. But that's only because I want to learn more about these characters. Because in this vain attempt of I want to care. Oh, it was the moment where
I
they were burning
I
the. It was the moment where they were burning their little plant, the little model down. It was just the moment to just sit and think. But I think I was leaning more on what that could have been if it was well written, if the entire show was well written.
I really hated the scene where they brought him into the command tent and they basically were like asking him questions
Oh
about
my
how to make this.
god,
Yeah,
I was
the
worried
implications of that were fucking
who
insane.
was gonna pilot it in the first place.
Yeah, how were you gonna get this out of there? Don't know. We'd have figured it out. It's like, no, the fuck you wouldn't have. You'd have
Again,
died. That would have been mission failed right there.
again, they seem to never address this in the Star Wars universe. Piloting a spaceship is should be one of the hardest things in the world. There's a reason why people go to like pilot school.
Especially when there's like different ships from different planets that
Exactly.
would probably use different fucking control schemes.
Yeah,
It's like,
because
oh yeah, none of this matches up to any. Just because you can fly a spaceship doesn't mean you can fly all spaceships.
yeah, I was about to say like if you threw Han in an X-wing, do you think he could properly pilot the thing? I don't think so. It's completely different from the Falcon.
Yeah, he doesn't have L337 to help him out.
No, that's just permanently part of the ship now. Don't you understand?
I know the ship's been ruined. Um, no, it's this episode strongly felt like I don't know the Gary Stewness of Andor really came out in this episode, where you can just feel the plot and all these characters and all these problems just bending to him. You know, anytime he comes close to getting in trouble or caught or found out, doesn't matter. He's in the right, everyone else is wrong. They even apologize to him when it's found out that he's the one that's been lying to them. And it's like, oh, Jesus, can we not?
No, this is exactly what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna spill all the character motivation out at the last fucking second.
Yeah, just fucking exposition dump. Not even in like a smart or clever way, just we need to get our motivations out before the action scene starts, so
You couldn't have
let's
had
do
like
it.
you couldn't have had Andor talk to somebody who's like, why is he such a dick? He's like, he might tell you about it later, but it's kind of because of his brother, or not because of his brother. They just mention his brother's name, not specifically the
You could
familial
even just say
relation.
he's got his reasons. I mean, anything like that to just, imply that there's something there that Andor doesn't know. No, like, no, we don't get any of that.
Just
I think
basic.
the most appropriate word is this show is insufferable. It is really fucking obnoxious. It actively feels like it's wasting my time and is not entertaining in the slightest. Like there are so many like even bad shows that I would rather be watching because at least they have some sort of entertainment value. This has none.
Yeah, would you rather? It's almost making me want to be excited for Mando season 3 because at least I know shit's gonna happen in every single episode. I won't. It will be fucking noisy as shit and won't make a lick of sense, but at least stuff will happen. And
No, I'm pretty much done with Star Wars. I mean, I was already off board with it, before this, but if this is what people think is going to save Star Wars, it's worse than I fucking thought. Like Jesus Christ, this is dog shit, guys. Like really, like the lowest of the low. Nothing is fucking happening in the show, and even when things are happening, you don't care because there hasn't been any proper setup. You don't give a shit about any of these characters. There is nothing to invest in here.
do you think it's really weird because we Max and I were having this conversation in our little Facebook chat, and it was like the state of the MCU. It's really weird how Star Wars doesn't even have that gasp of air that the MCU had with No Way Home. And even then,
No,
we are
that
we
was a fucking fluke, dude.
yeah
That's not. The MCU's been dead since Endgame. Period. That's it sucks to admit it, but the MCU is dead. Star Wars is fucking dead. They're just not willing to let it go because they know how much in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so they keep chasing that dragon, thinking that if we do the right thing, something will click and all that money will come flooding back in. And it's like, no, it won't. You fucked it up. It's gone. Even if you fixed it, it's too little too late. You've
Yeah,
already chased away a lot of people. You're
yeah,
never going to hit those heights again.
yeah. Like say they cut off their leg. Even if you stop the bleeding, you still cut off your fucking leg. That's now just gonna be a stump there, always damaging any potential earnings you could ever have.
Yeah. And that's where we're at with these large franchises that Disney owns now. So they're just going to keep shitting out content until they get something that sticks. But what they don't realize is that until they fix the people that are writing this, until they stop pushing all the ideology and the bullshit and get back to actual entertaining storytelling, they're beating their fucking head against the wall. It's not going to change. It's not going to get better.
And they don't seem to have anyone like that Zaslav guy that Warner Brothers has who saw like the writing on the wall with Batgirl and pulled the fucking plug.
There is a guy at the head of Disney that's kind of in that same boat now, but it's going to take time to course correct. And he's not directly in charge of like Lucasfilm, for example. You know, what I mean, he's kind of the head of Disney, but you gotta imagine, like, with all the different things Disney has under its banner, like being the president or CEO of Disney is like being the fucking president of a small country. Like, there are
Right.
so many different things for him to focus on, like how people feel about the fucking latest Star Wars show is so low on his list of
That's
priorities.
that's true. We keep thinking like, oh, just fire Kathleen, or just fix Blade before it's even been filmed.
Oh no,
But
dude, that's already fucking going in a horrible direction.
right.
That's a whole nother can of worms. But no, it sucks. But I'm telling you, man, anybody that was seriously invested in Star Wars as an IP, you know, someone who identifies as a Star Wars fan, like it's over. It's done. Like this is bad.
Yeah, run or and go back to you. If you're someone like me, go back to the old EU hidey hole because there's nothing left here.
And you know it's just going to continue to get worse, both in this show and any subsequent shows that they put out. Like it's not going to get better. And that sucks because like I would love to be sitting here, you know, telling you to check out the latest Star Wars content. That would be awesome. But unfortunately, that's not the timeline we live in. Like Star Wars ain't been good in a hot fucking minute, and it's shows no signs of changing. Like
Yeah,
this is really bad.
and even when it was passable, like only that one episode of Visions, the two Jedi hunting down that Sith person, it's only the one time, and even then, that's like at most a 6.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, like I said, I would love to be able to tell you that this is a good show and you should check it out, but it's not. And it's not like I've watched plenty of shows that were slow burns or were building towards big, you know, action set pieces, and it's like you can do it. It can be done. All of this build up, setup, whatever you want to call it, it's very bland. It's very weak, and you can tell it's not really leading towards anything substantial. Like I kind of just don't care. I know that it's going to be another bombastic action sequence like what we got in episode 3, but I know that they're going to fuck that up too. So like for every good thing that they do, there's going to be so many more questions of like, well, how the fuck is that working, or why the fuck did they do it that way? It's going to be just as bad if not worse in episode 3. I can
Yeah,
feel it.
and then like, let's face it, they're gonna get in that ship. There's gonna be like, oh, everything's going wrong, but somehow they're gonna miraculously pull it out of their fucking ass.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess this is gonna be the fucking thing that like bankrolls the rebellion initially and helps fund stuff. I don't know. It's I'm not invested in the characters. I'm not invested in the plot. I'm not invested in the heist. Like I just kind of don't fucking care because we spent the first 3 episodes not dealing with any of this shit. Like the heist was not on the table in the beginning. It was never even a fucking thought.
I almost think if they were going to, with this particular heist, the episode we got that we watched should have been first. Like episode, like this episode where they're all setting it up, and then the next episode the heist actually happens. That weird intro episode where super nothing happens just didn't need to be there. There's a lot. It feels like with this show, we're just doing nothing but trimming fat.
Well, but in the weird aspect, it's like they kept all the fat and they threw away the meat. It's
They really
it
did.
really feels like they we're in the cutting room floor and it's like everything on the floor is this and this is just the fucking scraps and it's like oh why did you do that? Like did you mean to do that? Are you tired? Are you okay, Star Wars? What happened?
Do you
I'm
need to
worried about you,
step?
Star
Do you
Wars.
need to step away from the
Yeah,
cutting room?
do you need to take a quick break, Star Wars? I'm a little worried about your health, man. Take a break, have a seat, get some water. Like I'm worried
Eat a
about you.
Snickers.
Yeah, eat a Snickers, but I'm worried about you. Take care of yourself. This is really horrendous. There is almost nothing to latch onto here, and it is really disappointing. But so I guess that's pretty much everything that happened in the episode.
Yes.
Wyatt, would you recommend this to anybody?
Is that we're just gonna keep having that question
Pretty
with
much.
every
Yeah, I
episode?
guess. Yeah. I mean, I would
No.
say, can you give it a score out of 10? But it's so hard to judge these episodes on their own because without the very little amount of connecting tissue that there is between shows, they suffer even that much more.
This is kind of actually an example that I would use as to why sometimes judging TV is harder for me. Because unlike something like a film where it's supposed to have like setup and payoff, like your standard film, setup and payoff within a 2 hour time limit. With this, we really are just waiting for that next episode to just see if they go anywhere with it.
Yeah, and
Like,
I don't think that they're gonna do much with it at all. So I would also not recommend this to anybody. Um, there's, I mean, we'll see how horrible the action sequence week, I guess, but I can already tell that's exactly what's gonna happen in episode 6. It's gonna be the heist, big exciting episode.
I feel like next week we're not even gonna like. It's just gonna be 5 minutes of silence as we're just laying there, just drained of energy.
Yeah, this is not how you should finish like at the end of an episode of TV. I'm not hyped. I'm not excited for next week. I'm not like, my God, that was so cool or so entertaining or I didn't feel anything but like boredom and anger, which is
But
not a particularly great
not even a
combination.
productive kind of anger though. I was thinking about
No.
that. Like remember, like I wish I could have like a readout of our energy levels for 1, 2, but then you just see our energy levels skyrocketed for 3. I've
No, and
never.
that's the thing is like I know you're somebody that normally, kind of fuel off of anger. I'm usually not, and this is just kicking my ass because I'm so uninvested in what's happening. I don't care about anything that's going on. And the show hasn't done anything to try to change that, anything to try to reel me in. And it's disappointing because for all of the bullshit in the sequel trilogy, at least they tried to reel people in. Like it was dumb as fuck, but they tried. This isn't even trying. And that's about the most scathing thing I could possibly do is compare this to the sequel trilogy and be like, wow, I'd almost rather watch that than this. Like this is boring as fuck.
Oh wow, hold on. So you'd rather watch like Force Awakens over something like Andor?
Yes. Because
Oh,
as horrible and bad as it is, at least it's attempting to be entertaining, even if it doesn't always succeed.
I feel like better conversation would even happen from us just watching The Force Awakens. We would be talking about like lost potential with something like Finn, or like what it means to skip 30 years worth of world building. We'd have something to chew on. We don't have anything for this show.
Yeah, no, it's
So I guess we'll see you all next week when we're probably gonna break something. Bye.
bye.